Hi and welcome. I'm Andy Miocha and you are watching AnewZ. Here are the headlines. Russia pounds Kyiv with missiles and drones in massive overnight attack, killing one person and injuring dozens. Donald Trump says no progress towards a ceasefire in Ukraine was made following a call with Vladimir Putin. Top officials of the Economic Cooperation Organization have gathered in Azerbaijan's Khankendi for the 17th ECO Summit. Thank you for tuning in. Just hours after US and Russia's presidents Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin spoke on the war in Ukraine on Thursday, Moscow launched one of its biggest aerial attacks on Kyiv yet, leaving dozens injured. According to local media, at least one person has been killed. Following the strikes, Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky called for more air defenses for his country.
Overnight into Friday, Kyiv's skies lit up as air defense units battled an intense Russian drone and missile onslaught, one of the largest since the start of the war. According to Ukraine's Air Force, over 500 drones and 11 missiles were launched, with the capital as the main target. Air raid sirens rang for over 8 hours. Explosions echoed across the city, lighting up the night and setting multiple buildings ablaze. Emergency crews spent hours containing fires and evacuating people and pets from damaged homes and garages. Many residents spent the night underground, in metro stations, shelters, and parking garages.
I woke up to the sound of explosions. First the drones started buzzing and then the explosions began. Then people started screaming outside. The explosions from the drones kept coming. I took my mother into the hallway. When things seemed to calm down, we went back to our flat. Then the explosions started again. They were getting closer and closer.
It's difficult to breathe here. We have packed some belongings and are going to the countryside. It's not possible to live in the flat anymore.
On a post on X, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky called for more air defense for Ukraine. He said, "This was one of the most largest-scale air attacks, deliberately massive and cynical. All of this is evidence that without truly large-scale pressure, Russia will not change its dumb, destructive behavior. For every such strike against people and human life, they must feel appropriate sanctions and other blows to their economy, their revenues, and their infrastructure." He goes on to say, "This is the only thing that can be achieved quickly to change the situation for the better, and it depends on our partners, primarily the United States." As dawn broke over, Kyiv counted the cost of a night under siege. Dozens were wounded, many hospitalized, and the city left in rubble.
Following his talk with Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump said he made no progress towards a ceasefire in Ukraine. Our Ubay Shabander has the details of the growing frustration in Washington.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin spoke over the phone on Thursday. The conversation centered on the ongoing war in Ukraine, with President Trump calling for a rapid end to that conflict. A Kremlin official told the press that Putin stressed that the Russian military would continue its ongoing operations in Ukraine. Russian forces occupy approximately 20% of Ukraine's territory, with most of it captured since the launch of a full-scale invasion in 2022. Almost immediately following the phone call between the two leaders, Russia launched another barrage of drone attacks on the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, suggesting that Moscow does not intend to end the war anytime soon. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, meanwhile, told reporters in Denmark that he hopes to speak to Trump as soon as Friday about the Pentagon's recent decision to pause shipments of air defense systems and artillery shells that were slated to be transported to Ukraine. Pentagon officials were concerned that the U.S. military stockpile of these weapons was running dangerously low and could be needed in case of an unexpected conflict on other fronts. The Russian army has launched its summer offensive in Ukraine and has been launching frequent waves of missile strikes on Ukrainian centers of population. Ukraine faces a Russian summer offensive and frequent attacks on a number of civilian targets. Though outnumbered, Ukrainian forces have been able to strike deep into Russian territory. Earlier in the week, a Ukrainian missile strike in the Russian Kursk region managed to eliminate Major General Michael Gudkov, the Russian Navy's deputy commander. And a number of Ukrainian drone strikes have managed to destroy Russian fighter bombers parked in air bases hundreds of kilometers away from the Ukrainian border. But concerns are growing that Russian forces, with their persistent pressure, could manage to break through Ukrainian lines in the eastern part of the country. Ukrainian officials are hoping that they can convince the White House to continue American shipments of weapons in order to help Ukrainian forces to counter Russian strikes and to blunt the Kremlin's summer offensive. President Trump also told reporters late on Thursday that he, quote, is not happy about the war in Ukraine. And he stressed that his discussion with Vladimir Putin did not make any progress about the war. The president also said that the U.S. has not paused weapon supplies to Ukraine, but, quote, in his words, we have to make sure that we have enough for ourselves. Thus far, there seems to be no end in sight for the war in Ukraine, as the casualties on both the Russian and Ukrainian sides continue to mount. Ube Shabander for AnewZ, Washington, D.C.
And now for the Kremlin's perspective of the Trump-Putin phone call, we go to Moscow and our Dasha Chernyshova.
Moscow says it will continue to pursue its goals in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Thursday in a phone call with his American counterpart Donald Trump. Commenting on the call, Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov stressed that Moscow needs to eliminate all the root causes of the confrontation. Despite that, Ushakov said that Russia will continue to seek a negotiated settlement for the conflict in Ukraine. Putin said Moscow was ready to continue direct talks with Kiev and to hold a third round. Putin also informed Trump about the implementation of the Istanbul Agreement achieved in the previous round of talks. Trump spoke of the soonest possible cessation of military activities in Ukraine. Earlier, the Kremlin said that the suspension of American arms supplies to Kiev would bring the end to the special military operation closer. The two have also discussed developments in Syria, Iran, and the Middle East in general, as well as a series of joint projects that Russia and the United States could work on in areas like energy, economy, and space exploration. Dasha Chernyshova in Moscow for AnewZ.
Meanwhile, Russia and Ukraine have exchanged another batch of prisoners of war. The warring sides have swapped troops several times since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine more than 3 years ago. At recent talks in Istanbul, the two countries agreed to free all heavily wounded, ill and captive troops who are under 25 years of age. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced the completed round of prisoner exchange on his X account, saying that civilians were among those released from Russian captivity. Dutch and German intelligence say they've uncovered clear evidence that Russia is using banned chemical weapons on the battlefield in Ukraine, including choking agents dropped from drones.
Dutch and German intelligence agencies say in a new report released today that Russia is intensifying its use of banned chemical weapons in Ukraine. They say choking agents are being dropped from drones using improvised devices to drive Ukrainian soldiers from trenches and leave them exposed to gunfire.
The main conclusion is that we can confirm Russia is intensifying its use of chemical weapons. This intensification is concerning because it is part of a trend we have been observing for several years now.
Officials describe it as part of a large-scale Russian program, not just makeshift tactics at the front line, but backed by research labs, military planning, and battlefield instructions. At least 3 deaths have been linked to chemical exposure. Over 2,500 Ukrainian soldiers have reported symptoms like breathing issues and nausea. But despite the scale, no formal investigation has been launched by the global chemical weapons watchdog. Russia denies the allegation and accuses Ukraine of similar tactics. The Dutch defence minister is calling for new EU sanctions and for Russia to be blocked from global disarmament bodies.
China's foreign minister downplayed European concerns over rare earth exports restrictions, saying that Europe's needs could be met if proper applications were submitted. He made the remarks while in Berlin during his European tour. Our Mahnur Makhdoom has the details in Beijing.
During his ongoing European tour, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi moved to ease EU's growing concerns over China's recent tightening of restrictions on rare earth mineral exports. He emphasized that these measures target dual-use items and do not constitute a blanket restriction. He assured his European partners that legitimate needs would be addressed swiftly through a licensing mechanism under China's Ministry of Commerce, adding that the measures align with international norms and do not intend to hinder normal trade. His remarks come as China and the EU navigate a very tense phase in their trade relationship. Brussels launched multiple investigations into China's alleged market distortion, including subsidies to electric car makers and solar panel exports, which the EU argues undermine fair competition. In response, Beijing accused the EU of protectionism and launched its own anti-dumping probe into EU exports, including on pork and brandy. Wang's diplomatic mission, which includes stops in Brussels, Berlin, and Paris, is being watched closely, especially as both sides prepare for the upcoming China-EU Leaders Summit later this month. While Beijing appears eager to project openness and stability, the EU remains cautious, especially over issues like Ukraine, intellectual property theft, and economic coercion. However, Wang's remarks offer some reassurance and may also pave the way to resolve a deeper structural friction between the EU and China. Manu Makhdoom, AnewZ, Beijing.
A powerful explosion at a gas station in Rome early Friday morning left at least 30 people injured, some with serious burns. The blast occurred on Gordiani Street in Rome's Prenestino district, sparking a massive fire and a second explosion as emergency crews arrived. Among the injured were firefighters and police officers. The explosion shattered windows and damaged nearby buildings. The cause of the blast is under investigation. Europe continues to grapple with an intense heat wave that has caused wildfires, evacuations, and affected shipping in some parts of the continent.
A heat wave sweeping across much of Europe has driven temperatures close to 40 degrees Celsius in some regions. In Hungary, unusually low water levels in the Danube River are disturbing shipping, agriculture, and local ecosystems. The Danube, Europe's second longest river, serves as a vital transport corridor across the continent. Temperatures reached 35 degrees Celsius in Budapest this week. Officials say cargo ships have been forced to leave behind over half of their loads and can only operate on a 30 to 40% capacity, a situation that could drive up shipping costs by as much as 100%. In Germany, the heat triggered wildfires in several eastern states. Hundreds of firefighters were deployed to battle the flames, with authorities in Gorisheide reporting that pilots carried out 35 flights in one day, dropping 63,000 liters of water on the fires. In Greece, firefighters remained on high alert after a wildfire devastated forests and forced thousands of residents and tourists to evacuate the island of Crete for 2 days. The fire, which began in a village east of Hierapetra, destroyed large areas of farmland in the island's southeast, leaving behind dead animals, damaged homes, and charred farm buildings.
The damages are incalculable in every way, from the water drilling equipment, pipes, tyres, the cars, the cement mixer, the lever and mechanism of the cement mixer. Everyone left. I stayed and saved my house. My house is over there. If I had not stayed, it would have burned. I had prepared with buckets, spray bottles. I had filled the pool with water. I had made it into a water tank.
In Bosnia, Catholic pilgrims endured the scorching heat to climb the rocky Apparition Hill in Medjugorje, a popular pilgrimage site. The extreme temperatures created harsh conditions for the worshippers, making a steep ascent to the site where the Virgin Mary is believed to have appeared. According to the EU's Copernicus agency, Europe is warming at twice the global average, making it the fastest warming continent. As a result, extreme heat waves are arriving earlier in the year and lasting longer into the later months.
The 17th summit of the Economic Cooperation Organization is taking place in Azerbaijan's Khankendi, with top officials from all 10 member states in attendance. Presidents and prime ministers from Turkey, Iran, Pakistan and Central Asia have gathered to discuss pressing regional issues. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev opened the summit, stressing ECO's importance in a rapidly changing world. As the ECO summit in Khankendi is underway, information and footage are relayed to the world by a buzzing press room. Our Narchichak Jahangirli is there and brings a taste of the atmosphere.
Behind every major international summit, there's a buzzing backstage, the media center. This is where headlines are born, where information is processed and rapidly shared with the world. So how does it all come together? Let's take a closer look behind the scenes.
Here in Khankendi, the press room of the 17th Economic Organization Cooperation Summit is the heartbeat of information flow. As leaders make decisions and agreements, this is the place where updates are gathered, analysed and broadcast to audiences across the region and beyond. From live hits to quick write-ups, reporters and camera crews work non-stop. We took a moment to speak to some of them, both local and international, who are covering this high-level event for various media outlets.
About summit, I am thinking that the summit, it will be good chance for all the leaders that they will be here today to discussing about all the subject. First, like economy and the relationship between all the country and the future, how the future about these organizations.
ECO is a very important platform for all the regional countries to cooperate in trade, connectivity and other sectors, and the arrangements here are really good as it shows the strong commitment of the host country and all the other countries to show strong commitment to the goal of ECO.
With the participation of 10 countries, including Turkey, Azerbaijan, Iran, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. Many countries are attending this forum with the aim of fostering economic cooperation. So this is actually quite important from the Turkey side as well from the other countries' side, because now they are trying to set a roadmap for the next 10 years.
As a media representatives, we have very perfect infrastructure place that we can follow all the upcoming news here at the media center, and I hope that this is going to be the next success of the Azerbaijan diplomacy.
These journalists serve as a vital link between what's happening inside summit halls and what people see on their screens.
Russia has formally recognized the Taliban-led government in Afghanistan, becoming the first country to do so since the group took power in 2021. The Russian Foreign Ministry said it aims to strengthen cooperation in security and economic sectors, including energy and infrastructure. While no other country has formally recognized the Taliban government, several countries, including China, the UAE, Uzbekistan, and Pakistan, designated ambassadors to Kabul in a step towards recognition. Russia's earlier comparison of Ukraine to Azerbaijan, according to some analysts, comes out of fear that Ukraine may follow the same path of military reclamation, threatening Kremlin dominance.
Russia's presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky has drawn an alarming comparison between the Ukraine war and the Karabakh conflict, warning that a mere ceasefire without a comprehensive peace deal could turn eastern Ukraine into a giant Karabakh, a frozen conflict zone ripe for future escalation. He warned that if Russia stopped the conflict along the front line, Ukraine might join NATO and, together with its allies, attempt to retake lost territories, risking escalation to nuclear war. Azerbaijan responded sharply. Foreign Ministry spokesman Aykan Hajizadeh called Medinsky's analogy regrettable and surprising, pointing out that Karabakh is not disputed territory, but an ancient and integral part of Azerbaijan, as officially recognized even by Moscow. Baku insisted this comparison is dangerous and false, asserting that Azerbaijan's 2020 and 2023 military actions reclaimed internationally recognized land, not aggressions against other states. Political analyst Taras Kuzio notes that among the 15 post-Soviet republics, only Russian and Armenian nationalists have pursued irredentist claims, never accepting the Alma-Ata Declaration of December 21, 1991, which made Soviet internal borders the permanent international frontiers. Medinsky, like Putin, lives in the 19th century. However, as Azerbaijan demonstrated when it defeated a greater Armenia, there is no room in the 21st century for empires. Medinsky revealed the fears of the Kremlin that its occupation of Ukrainian land will unravel when Ukraine follows Azerbaijan's example.
Relations between Tehran and Baku have once again entered a tense phase. Iran's accusations against Azerbaijan, followed by diplomatic signals, have drawn regional and international attention. At the center of the issue lies Azerbaijan's strategic partnership with Israel.
Iran's accusations that Azerbaijan has allowed Israel to use its airspace in military operations against Tehran have led to an escalation of tensions between the two countries. Experts suggest that these allegations are voiced against the backdrop of Iran's recent military setbacks and can be understood as rhetoric aimed at domestic audiences. Tensions between Baku and Tehran have been growing over the past 5 years, particularly intensifying following the 12-day armed conflict between Israel and Iran. Analysts believe that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has played a significant role in this deterioration. Nonetheless, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian's visit to Baku in May this year, as well as his participation in the 17th summit of the Economic Organization Cooperation, are viewed as diplomatic efforts aimed at easing tensions between the two sides. One of the critical flashpoints in bilateral relations was the 2023 attack on Azerbaijan's embassy in Tehran, which resulted in the death of the embassy's head of security and injuries to 2 staff members. That same year, an assassination attempt was reported in Baku, targeting a pro-Israel Azerbaijani parliamentarian. Despite these incidents, Azerbaijan shares a 688-kilometer-long border with Iran, where millions of ethnic Azerbaijanis reside. These geographical and ethnic ties add to the regional significance of the relationship between the two countries. In recent years, relations between Azerbaijan and Israel have visibly strengthened, encompassing cooperation mainly in the energy and defense sectors. Azerbaijan supplies approximately half of Israel's oil needs and is one of the primary purchasers of Israeli military technology. This partnership played an important role in Azerbaijan's military victory over Armenia in 2020. The success further enhanced Baku's position amid shifting geopolitical dynamics in the region. The close ties between Baku and Jerusalem have been closely monitored by Iran. Against this backdrop, Azerbaijani officials have expressed interest in formally joining the Abraham Accords, the peace agreements brokered during President Donald Trump's administration between Israel and 4 Arab states.
Georgia has expanded the powers of its migration authorities amid a rise in deportations. New laws now allow police and migration officers to inspect the homes and workplaces of suspected undocumented foreigners. They can enter private property with a court order or owner's consent and request documents like work permits. In the first half of 2025, Georgia deported more than 500 foreigners. New rules will tighten fines and entry bans for visa violations starting in September. From March next year, foreigners will need special work permits. Armenia has formally announced its intention to join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Yerevan says the country aligns with the SCO's core principles. Armenia is currently an observer state and became a dialogue partner in 2016. China has been encouraging deeper Armenian engagement with the bloc. On Yerevan's bid to join the SCO, we are talking with political analyst Vakhtang Maisaya, coming to us from Tbilisi. Welcome, thank you so much for joining us. First off, what do you make of Armenia wanting to join the Shanghai Cooperation Council? What sort of a benefit do you see there, not only for Yerevan, but the SCO as well?
Thank you very much for having me here. I want to greet your audience and you too. About the Armenia joining plans to join this Shanghai Cooperation Organization, I guess it's like a new trend to expand South Eurasian just about geopolitics, because just Shanghai Cooperation Organization is just originated as a Eurasian just about entities, which also just have just about biggest mixture of the just members like China, Russia on the board, and of course Pakistan, India, and many others. So I guess it will be just mentioning that South Caucasus became as one of the important area, casting South Caucasus, South Eurasia as one of the biggest area, which becomes very dominant and important area, like a heartland for world politics and international order, just about parameters. I guess the joining Armenia, I guess it will increase possibility of China to promote its One Belt, One Road incentive, much more just about insistence as it just have before. I think so. This will be just increased Eurasian just about actors potency, and increase about international recognition, and increase it's about just about a worldwide scale of these organizations.
Vakhtang, thank you so much for joining us and offering up your insight.
You're welcome.
Over in Turkey, wildfires raging in Izmir have killed 2 people and forced evacuations as firefighters battle flames fueled by strong winds. Officials say that a group came out claiming responsibility for setting multiple fires, while investigations continue into possible accidental causes.
Wildfires in western Turkey's Izmir province have claimed a second life as blazes rage into their 7th day across several regions. Ibrahim Demir, a backhoe operator, died Tuesday while battling flames in the Ödemiş district. An 81-year-old bedridden man died from smoke inhalation after fire reached his home in the same area, marking the first fatality since the fires began. Governor Süleyman Elban said 37 other villagers were safely evacuated. A group calling itself the Children of Fire, claiming ties to the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party, has taken responsibility for dozens of fires across 6 Turkish cities. The PKK, which announced it was ceasing its insurgency in May, has not commented. Firefighters, supported by aircraft and helicopters, are intensifying efforts in the Aegean town of Çeşme, a key tourism area west of Ödemiş. Strong winds continue to hinder containment as fires spread through forested zones, causing highway closures and evacuations. The Izmir Forestry Directorate has deployed planes, helicopters, fire engines, and heavy equipment to fight the fires. Local residents are assisting emergency crews amid challenging conditions. Authorities have detained 2 suspects who may have accidentally started one fire while using a power tool at a construction site in Buca district. The investigation remains ongoing.
Well, that's all we have for you for now. Thank you so much for watching, and do stay tuned to AnewZ.